What's up, everybody? It's me, Lone. I hope you're doing all right. Today, I'm here to talk about Dragon's Dogma 2 and the controversy surrounding the game now that it's launched officially. For those of you that don't know, of course, the game is a single-player open-world action RPG. It launched today, but it launched with a bunch of different microtransactions on the Steam store and the other stores, specifically relating to in-game items. Now, many people, including myself, either didn't know these microtransactions were coming to the game, or at the very least didn't know how extensive they could be. Now we do. Now we know all the items that you can buy and all the microtransactions, and understandably it's caused a fair bit of negativity and backlash in the community. If you went to the Steam page for the game at the moment, currently reviews are mixed, but before they were mostly negative, and that's going to chop and change by the time this video goes live and as the days and weeks go on. But suffice it to say, there is a lot of negativity for the game there at the moment because of these microtransactions and a couple of other things which I'll mention in a second. And this, of course, is in very stark contrast to the hugely positive reviews that we just received from media and journalists. I think it was just a couple of days ago, right? Currently on OpenCritic, the game is sitting at 89%, which is very positive. On Metacritic, very similar, 87%. And many of those reviewers were saying this game is a genuine Game of the Year contender, even if it's just in the RPG category. There was so much praise for the game when those reviews launched, right? So you've got very positive reviews from media, and then very negative reviews once the game launches because of these microtransactions and a couple of other things. And I was very surprised too. So I have been playing the game for the past week. I got it during the embargo period. And I've really been having a fantastic time with Dragon's Dogma 2. I tweeted out the other day that if you are even the least bit excited about Elder Scrolls 6, you absolutely need to be playing Dragon's Dogma 2. It's phenomenal. The combat is so much fun. I love how frenetic and hectic it gets. I like all the vocations, how you can swap between them, and they have some really cool weapon skills and augments to them. When you're in combat and you have all your pawns helping you and maybe other NPCs helping you, and they're all assisting you with different skills, like a mage is healing you and giving you flame weapons, and then someone else is coming in with their arrows and shooting an enemy from afar. Combat gets so much fun. Exploration is top tier. The sense of adventure in this game is incredible. It's like on par with Skyrim, absolutely. I love just exploring the world, experiencing the amazing open world level design that it has, you know, finding different things, going into a cave, completing quest lines, whatever it might be. Exploration is awesome in Dragon's Dogma 2. I love the soundtrack. It really complements the exploration and the combat nicely. It's a very pretty game. I absolutely adore the visuals in Dragon's Dogma 2. And that's not to say, and all of this is not to say that there's not negatives with the game. Of course there are negatives. There are negatives with every game, right? Especially when it comes to performance and optimization, that absolutely needs to be fixed with Dragon's Dogma 2. Especially in big cities, your frame rate can tank well below 60. I have an RTX 4090. Outside of big cities, I'm fine. I'm running at a 4K Ultra, everything is fine. But in some of the big cities, my frame rate does tank. So that is the first big issue that needs to be resolved. Also as well, the dialogue animations can be a bit wonky at times. Sometimes pawns are saying the same thing to you over and over and over and over, and it gets really annoying. But aside from those things, I really enjoyed the game. Like, I've really been enjoying the game, and I can't put the controller down. I think it's absolutely great. So when I saw these Steam reviews, I was thoroughly confused because I had zero context about all these microtransactions. I'm like, why are people hating on this game? Why are reviews mostly negative? And then I started reading. So I want to go into all of this in today's video. And essentially, there were four main reasons. There are four main reasons why the community and people buying the game today are so negative towards Dragon's Dogma 2 at the moment. It's not just about the microtransactions. That is the biggest one, absolutely, but there are other reasons. So reason number one, poor performance and bad optimization. I mentioned that. I experienced it too in my playthrough. I completely agree. That does need to be fixed. So that's reason number one. Reason two, and this is the same song and dance every time Denuvo is in a new game, but yes, because they included a Denuvo anti-cheat, there's a lot of negativity towards the game as well. I don't think they're going to get rid of it. This game has online components. They're not going to get rid of it so easily, but because of that, people are being more negative towards the game. Number three, there are weird limitations of the game. So for instance, there is no FOV slider. There is a option to allow you to pull back the camera just a little bit to help you a little bit in that regard, but there's no traditional FOV slider, so that can get a little bit jarring. Plus as well, currently in the game on PC, there is no option to start a new game. Once you start a game, that is it. If you want to start with a new character or run a second character or whatever it might be, you can't. You just got to keep playing the game. And that is weird. So if you want to start over, really, you can't unless you get to New Game Plus, right? And you change your vocation and try to change your appearance, and that's a whole nother discussion. We'll talk about that later. So there's no option to delete your save files or to create a new save file. So that's a strange one. And then finally, reason number 4, microtransactions. And that's what I want to spend the fair bulk of this video on, are all these microtransactions. Because the key thing is, and I've seen a lot of these reviews, including myself, when I was playing the game during the review period, we didn't know about these microtransactions. So when they launched, I was like, oh, okay. Does that, mar my experience? Not necessarily. I still enjoyed the game in the moment, but many reviewers didn't know about the microtransactions, and that's why they weren't mentioned in a lot of these reviews that were launched. Some reviewers did say in their review guidelines there was a big list of all the microtransactions. I didn't receive anything like that, so I assume there were other reviewers that didn't receive anything like that. But suffice it to say, a fair few didn't know about these microtransactions. That's why the reviews are still so positive without any mention of them, right? So I will say that. And then where does the controversy come in? Of course, many people are going to say that this is a single-player game. So if you're playing full price for the AAA single-player game, that's like $70 USD or whatever it is in your territory, some people would argue just because of that, there shouldn't be any kind of microtransactions. Personally, I don't fall on that side of the argument. I'm one of the guys that thinks so long as they're cosmetic and they don't affect actual gameplay, then personally, I'm usually okay with that. But that's obviously not the case when it comes to these microtransactions. We'll go through them all in a second, but a lot of these do directly affect gameplay, and that's the next level up, and that's why a lot of people are really up in arms about these microtransactions. Now, to be fair, there are some people saying even though these are directly affecting gameplay, most of these items, not all of them, but most of these items you can obtain through normal gameplay in the game, as I was when I was playing it during the review period. So because of that, some people would argue that these microtransactions aren't as big of a deal because you can still play it as normal, and you're not fighting against anyone else. This isn't a multiplayer game, so who cares if someone can buy the microtransactions and other people don't want to because they don't want to spend more money on a single player game that's $70, right? So a lot of arguments, across the whole spectrum. So what do I think? I want to go through each and every microtransaction to show you what's available to purchase, right? How easy these are to get in the game, how expensive they are, and all that kind of stuff, to see how bad the situation really is. So if you enjoy this video and find that it helps you, please like, subscribe if you're new, with notifications if that's possible. But let's get right into it. Alrighty, so here are all the microtransactions currently for Dragon's Dogma 2. Now keep in mind the currency listed here is Australian dollars, but I will be telling you what the US dollar equivalent is as we go through. So first up, we have all of the options for Rift Crystals or RC. RC is essentially a form of currency in Dragon's Dogma 2, and you're using RC either to hire pawns or to purchase special items, but mostly in my experience, you're using RC to hire pawns. It's a big mechanic in the game where you're going through the world and essentially finding these NPCs, let's call them, that you can hire to be part of your party, whether it's to explore or complete quests or kill enemies and help you in combat. It can be really beneficial to find as many pawns as you can, up to 3 in a party, hire them, and then help you play the game. So that's why it's so beneficial to get RC. Now, to be clear, you can actually get RC through normal gameplay, and I'll talk about that in a second, but if you do want to purchase them on Steam or through PSN or whatever, you can do so with real money. So how much does it cost? There are 3 different packages. I don't know why Steam lists them separately as D and C and B. From what I can see, these are the exact same, but mainly there are 3 different packages. There's one for $500, which costs 99 cents US. There's one for $1,500, which costs $2.99 US, and there's one for $2,500, which costs $4.99 US, right? So 3 different packages to get as many Rift Crystals as you want. But in my experience, you get plenty while playing the game. If this was an option for me during the review period, I absolutely, without a doubt, would not have used it, because there are actually many pawns in the game that you can hire without spending any RC whatsoever. And all of the pawns in my party currently are ones that I got for free. So actually, I have more RC than I know what to do with, and I have no need to purchase these separate special items that I mentioned before. So I don't need any of these extra Rift Crystals because they're pretty easy to obtain in the game. And how are you doing that? You're completing quests, you're killing enemies, you're finding them in chests, you're finding broken Rift Stones. you're pretty easily going to be able to obtain RC in the game. So really, I'm not so concerned about these microtransactions. You might differ in that opinion. Some people believe that because pawns really do help you, that having these microtransactions is essentially Capcom's way of selling you easy difficulty. I wouldn't describe it like that. I don't believe that's entirely fair. But I understand why some people might be upset about this one. So let me know in the comments below. Next up, we have Wakestone. So again, there are different options. I don't know why there are different options like B and D and E and whatever. They're all the same thing. They all cost 99 US cents, right? And they hold the power to revive the dead. And that's in a number of ways. Let's say, as you're playing the game, you accidentally kill an important NPC, a quest giver or whatever it might be. You accidentally kill an NPC, or a random mob or enemy kills an NPC. You can use a full Wakestone to go to a crypt to revive those NPCs, to ensure that you can keep playing the game with them, whether it's to return a quest or whatever it might be. So it's a pretty cool mechanic that it still allows you to kill important characters, but if they do die, there's a way to bring them back, and to do that, you need a Wakestone. So that's the first way of using Wakestones. The second way is just by keeping them in your inventory, and if you ever die in the middle of combat, you'll get the option to revive yourself and just keep playing the game. So if you're fighting a really high level, hard enemy, and you happen to die, and it's going to happen, you will die, you can use a Wakestone to just immediately revive and keep attacking that enemy. And that's why they're so beneficial in those combat situations, because the enemy is not regaining their health when you reload a save. So you can just keep using Wakestones, smash a really hard enemy, even though you might be lower leveled, and you're good to go. But I will say, talking about save files, the saves happen pretty often in this game. Often when you are dying, you're reloading right before that piece of combat, right? So you can just go back into it, and even though the enemies have gained their health, you can try again for a second time. So I haven't found Wakestones to be all that important. I absolutely see them being important, right? Especially with harder enemies, and if you ever do happen to accidentally kill an NPC, or an enemy does, right? At some stage, I'm going to have to use a Wakestone, but I don't need to use it so much that I find this need to purchase them separately. Especially because, yes, you can actually obtain them in the game. Either you obtain them whole as Wakestones, or if you find 3 different Wakestone shards, you can actually combine them to a whole Wakestone. So because I don't find the need to use them that often, and because you can find them in the game, I won't say easy though, they are pretty rare. In fact, they're pretty rarer than fairy stones, which are used for fast traveling. But you do find them, and because I don't use them that often, I wouldn't purchase these at all. If these were available again in the review period, I wouldn't use these options whatsoever. But if you find that pretty, dodgy or whatever it might be, you let me know in the comments below. But those are Wakestones, right? Next up, we've got port crystals. Port crystals are essentially a way of fast traveling in Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, to give the context here, Dragon's Dogma 2 does not have a traditional fast traveling system. They've put a lot of effort in designing this world where you have to travel through different alternative means. So for instance, there are ox carts in the game where you get onto a cart and you can very slowly travel to different areas. And sometimes mobs can attack you while you're on the ox carts, and again, they can be very slow. But that's one form of travel. It's not like Skyrim, where you can just visit different cities, and once you visit a city, you can easily fast travel between it for no cost. This is a game which emphasizes more unique, harder, less flexible styles of fast traveling or traveling in the game. So that's the one way. The second way is by using port crystals. So port crystals are essentially a way of fast traveling pretty much wherever you want in the game. There are different kinds of port crystals. There are permanent port crystals located in like main cities and settlements where you can use those to travel to those settlements. But if you ever want to travel to any location that you put a crystal down to, you can use temporary port crystals in order to be able to do so. So if you want to purchase them, you can purchase them to be able to fast travel easier in the game. These cost $2.99 US, right? And as I said, because the game is intentionally designed to make traveling a little bit more unique and harder and complex, port crystals are actually pretty important, and they are rare to obtain in the game as well. I saw one person say that you can only obtain 5 port crystals per playthrough because there is a new game plus. So you can only obtain 5 in any one playthrough. That's why they're so rare. And at any one time, you can place down 10 port crystals across the map. So if you get the 5, to be able to use the other 5, you're going to have to purchase them through Steam or PSN. And this one I feel less happy about because Like I'm not seeing this as a way of them selling fast travel. People are arguing that this is a way for them to take our fast travel and then make money off of that. I don't agree with that. I think it's a cool way that they've built the traveling in the game. It's different, it's harder. I actually enjoy it. I enjoyed it in my playthrough because I had to think about when I'm traveling. I don't want to travel at night. Do I want to use the ox cart at this time? Do I want to use a port crystal? Because to use port crystals, it costs fairy stones, and I'll talk about that in a second. I think it's pretty cool, right? But just because there's option here doesn't mean, I don't think they're necessarily selling fast travel. But I wish we were able to get port crystals a little bit more easier in the game. 5 seems to be too low, and they're very rare. And I think you can buy them from some vendors, but it's very expensive. I haven't confirmed that. I saw someone say that on the internet. So I do wish this one wasn't a thing. I wish that you could just get the port crystals regularly in the game. But mentioning fairy stones, to be able to even use port crystals, you need to use fairy stones. And thankfully, fairy stones are not a microtransaction. So fairy stones are pretty hard to find in the game. They're very rare, and they cost 10,000 gold. So from a vendor, it's actually pretty expensive if you want to use a port crystal. And that's just once. Once you've used a fairy stone, that's it. It expires. So to be able to even use this microtransaction or the ones that you find in the first place, you need to use fairy stones. And that's why it limits how useful this microtransaction actually is, right? And I'm just thankful that fairy stones are not a microtransaction. That would be absolutely disaster. So thankfully, it is just the port crystals. But still, some people might find that a little bit dodgy. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Next up, we have the Art of Metamorphosis tomes. So these are used as a way to edit your character. This is an RPG, so when you start the game, you can completely edit your character to look the way you want, and you can also do that with your main pawn, right? You get a main pawn in the game, not the ones that you acquire as you play, but your main pawn you can completely change the appearance of, right? So it's pretty cool. Now, with a lot of RPGs, and I play games like Fallout and Skyrim, and there's ways of changing how your character looks. You go to a random vendor in the game for a low nominal fee, you're usually able to change how your character looks. Not in Dragon's Dogma 2. So these cost $1.99 US, and you can use them to completely edit your character. There are certain things that you can't change, like race and body shape, but for the rest of the stuff, you can use these tomes to be able to edit your character. So this is very important. In an RPG, sometimes you don't like how your character looks initially that you've built. Sometimes when you create your character and you look at it in the game, you think, wow, that actually looks like crap. So you're going to need to re-edit, you're going to need to change your appearance, and that's why these tomes are actually pretty important. Now, you can obtain these tomes in the game through normal gameplay, right? There are some vendors, these are, what are they? They're pawn guilds that you can go to, and you can purchase them for 500 RC. That's why RC is even more important, because you can use them to buy tomes. And unfortunately, though, sometimes actually not sometimes, I think all of the guilds that sell these tomes limit the stock to 2, and I haven't found any other way to get more tomes if I need it. So the number of tomes in any playthrough might actually be restricted per playthrough. And that's where these purchasable microtransactions come into it, because if you use all of them, and there are a fair few, don't get me wrong, but if you do use all of them, you have to buy them separately from what I see, and there's no other way of completely editing your character. Now, there are other limited ways of changing your character. You can go to a barberie and change your hairstyle and your makeup and your tattoos and whatever. But if you want to completely change your character's look, this is the only way. So I will say, I wish this wasn't a thing. As I said, I play games like Fallout and Skyrim that make this a trivial thing. You can change your character's look whenever you want. You go to a surgeon or whatever. The fact that this is part of a consumable and you can, buy that consumable with real world money, this is one thing I wish wasn't a thing at all. So that is that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next up, we have the makeshift jail key. So sometimes in the game, you can get sent to jail. Either you're where you're not meant to be, you're trespassing, or I think if you kill an enemy or whatever, you can get sent to jail. And there are a number of ways of getting out of jail. You can bribe a guard, which costs about 10,000 gold or so. Or you can use a jail key to escape. Now, there are ways of getting jail keys in the game. I think the first time you go to a jail, there's a pot where if you break it, you get a jail key and you get to escape. But other than that, and purchasing them from vendors, I think they're 3,000 gold from vendors, there aren't other ways to get the jail key. So it sucks when you're sent to jail and you have to bribe a guard for so much money to be able to get out. That's why this is a microtransaction. It's another way for Capcom to be able to get some money. Now, I have not been sent to jail yet, so I've not had this need to get the jail keys. And it's probably because I haven't gotten to those quests. There are actually quests which put you in very risky situations to get sent to jail. So once I do those quests, my opinion might change drastically on this point. But right now, I don't see myself buying a jail key because I know there's ways I can either avoid jail, bribe a guard, even though it's a bit expensive early on, or just get the jail keys through other means from vendors or whatever. So this one, I'm fine with. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Next up, we have Rift Incenses, and this is an ambivalent Rift Incense. There are different types of Rift Incenses. I'll talk about that in a second. But the ambivalent Rift Incense essentially allows you to change the inclination of your pawn. So I mentioned you have a main pawn in the game, and when you get that pawn, you can set their inclination. And the inclination really affects how a pawn supports you as you play. So the different kinds of inclinations, kind-hearted, for instance, right? A kind-hearted pawn will make your pawn more likely to support you and heal you and help you directly. Whereas a straightforward pawn is just run and gun, I'm just going to fight enemies in combat, and that's how I'm helping you in the game. And there are other ones like calm and simple. So inclinations can really determine how your pawns are supporting you in the game. All your pawns are supporting you, mind you, but the inclination is going to directly affect how exactly they support you. So if you ever get to the stage in the game where you don't like the inclination of your pawn, you can use a Rift Incense to change that. And here's one of the options. So this costs $1.99 US, and it's an ambivalent Rift Incense. So you can use it to give your pawn a random inclination. So when you do that, hopefully you get the one that you want and you go on your way. Now, to be clear, inclinations are very important. So this is one of the ones where I'm like, I wish this wasn't a thing, but I will say you can obtain these in the game. And in fact, ambivalent Rift Incenses are pretty easy to buy. Again, this might be another one of those items which are limited. You can go to the pawn guilds and purchase them. I think there's a stock of 9 or so, and once you purchase them, that might be it. I haven't tested that, right? But if they're available at every pawn guild, then you'll probably find to purchase a bunch of them and to change your pawn's inclination whenever you want. The main thing here is that these are random, right? There are actually other incenses, as I mentioned, which give your pawn a very specific inclination, the one that you want. Now, to do that, you need to purchase those, and those cost 2,000 RC. Thankfully, there are no microtransaction options for those specific Rift incenses. So those are the only way to obtain those from what I see are currently in the game, and they're for 2,000 RC. Again, it makes RC even more important, but at least those aren't available through actual real world purchases. But if you do want to purchase a random one, you can. Some people think that this is a bit dodgy in and of itself because you're spending real money on a completely random roll, right? And I kind of get that, I do, but to be honest, I'd prefer this than having the specific ones available for purchase because those would be even more expensive, right? And it makes the ones available in the game through normal gameplay even more important as opposed to just buying them separately. So this one, I'm 50-50 on. I don't think it matters as much because typically I just set my pawn's inclination once and then I'm fine with that and then you go on your way. They help you in the game, but it doesn't drastically change how much they help you. You just get another pawn to help you out, you'll be fine. So next up, we have Harpy Snare Smoke Beacons. Actually, you know what? Let's cover, what are we going to cover first? We're going to cover Heartfelt Pendants, this one first. So Heartfelt Pendants are essentially a way to increase the affinity of you towards different NPCs. And essentially it's helping you with romance in the game. So this costs $1.99 US. And if you really want to make an NPC, you know, attracted to you and help with your affinity towards them, you can purchase this heartfelt pendant to be able to help you along the way. Now, to be clear, there are other gifts that you can give those NPCs to help you when it comes to affinity and when it comes to romance. But this seems like it does it in a way more effective way. And there is no way to obtain this in the game. The only way to get a heartfelt pendant is by purchasing them with real world money. So that sucks. I always don't like when there's no way to get an item in the game that you can purchase for real world money. I think, to me, that always sucks. There should always be a way, even if it's very hard. In my opinion, there should always be a way. But at the very least, there are other gifts that you can use to increase your affinity. And apparently you can also increase affinity as well to help you get better deals and increase your interactions with certain NPCs. I don't know how true that is, mind you. I only know about the romance option. At least there are other options though to give as gifts. But if you do want to purchase this to really help you when it comes to affinity, you can purchase these pendants separately. So next up, as I mentioned before, we got the smoke beacons. So smoke beacons, I don't think these matters whatsoever. So these cost 99 cents US. And essentially they're used as a way to attract these enemies called harpies, right? And harpies are annoying to fight because they fly in the air and then they attack you and they go up and they can put you to sleep and everything. They're really annoying to fight. So if you want to purchase these smoke beacons, because you'll encounter harpies a lot, if you want to purchase these smoke beacons to make fighting them easier, then you can do that. But if you're an archer, you're going to have no problem fighting them. If you have pawns in your team that are archers, you're going to have no problem fighting them. Even if they fly towards you and you hit them once, they'll stagger and go to the ground and you'll be able to fight them easily. This item, I think, is absolutely pointless and I don't see anyone purchasing them. Unless there's another way to use them that I don't know of, to me, the smoke beacons are absolutely fine. So next up, we've got the music and sound collection, by the way. Where is it? Don't worry about this. This is just like you can actually replace certain sounds in the game with the original Dragon's Dogma. This is not pay to win. This is not helping you directly in gameplay. This I see is a legitimate DLC that I don't care about. So we can move on from that. But now the big one, all right? The big one is the Explorer's Camping Kit. This one sucks. This I haven't had an issue with a lot of these microtransactions, as you've seen, right? This one I do have an issue with. So as I mentioned to you, there is no regular fast traveling system in the game. And as you're playing the game and as you take damage from certain enemies, it actually reduces your max potential health until you go back to an inn and sleep or make camp. When you do that, you get all your health back and you can go on your way. So that's why camping kits are so important, because to be able to make camp and to completely heal yourself and make sure you and your party are all good, you have to use a camping kit. And there are camping kits that you can either find or purchase in the game, but there are a downside to those that this one here does not have. So this is the Explorer's Camping Kit. It costs $2.99 US, right? And because camping is so important in the game, it can really affect your health and help you regenerate and help you complete quests and whatnot, because you can find campsites everywhere, right? So because camping is so important in the game, these camping kits can be very, very useful. Typically, you always want to have one camping kit on stock at any time in your inventory. The problem with this one is that it weighs so much less. So there is a huge weight mechanic in the game where if you have too much, your character moves very slowly and it loses stamina very, very quickly. And that sucks because it directly affects your ability to combat or to explore and a bunch of other stuff. So you don't want to have too much in your inventory at any one time. Mind you, you can share your items between your different pawns to, lessen up your inventory and make sure you don't have those issues. But you're still going to find those situations where you're looting a lot, where your inventory is weighing you down. And the problem with regular camping kits is that they're very heavy. They can be like 7 kilos, 8 kilos, and it sucks. These ones are very, very light, and that's why they're so useful. And if you purchase this, not only do you get one, you're actually purchasing the ability to get them from vendors in the game. There is no way of getting an Explorer's Camping Kit separately in the game unless you purchase it here. And once you purchase it here, you can then buy them from vendors as much as you want. So this one, I really am just disappointed with. Like, I know that there are other camping kits, and you can use them. And again, I played and I've used other heavier camping kits, you make do. But the fact there is this one that I can't get through normal gameplay unless I purchase it with real money, that sucks. I kind of feel obligated now to be able to make my inventory as light as possible to purchase this, so I at least have the option moving forward to buy them from vendors in the game. So that is it. All right, I think I covered all of them. Hopefully I did. Let's get back to the camera view so I can summarize this video. All right, so overall, what are my opinions about all of these microtransactions currently in Dragon's Dogma 2? As you would have seen, for me, it does depend on the item. For the items that are pretty easy to obtain, like the Rift Crystals, or for the items that, even if they're not so easy to obtain, I'm not needing to use them all that often, like the Wake Stones, those are the microtransactions that I don't have as much of an issue with, right? Because through my normal gameplay, either I'm not needing to use them that often, or I can get them pretty easily and I'm playing the game just fine. I have enough RC to hire the pawns that I want or to buy the items that I want. And if I don't, I can just get the free pawns. So those are the ones I don't care about. Even with the Wake Stones, right? I just reload the save to the previous save and I'm literally right there at that encounter. It's not something that I feel this incessant need to purchase with real money. Those are the ones I'm fine with. And then there's the next level up. The next level up are the items that are a little bit harder to obtain in the game and are in limited quantities, like the Port Crystals and the Metamorphosis Tomes. Those are the ones that I have a bit more of an issue with, right? I wish those were a little more readily available in the game. And then I'd be a bit more okay with the fact that there is a separate purchasable option, right? But the fact that they are still available in the game, even if they are limited quantities, it makes me not completely okay, but fine with. I'm tolerating that one. The one that I'm not really tolerating is the Explorer's Camping Kit. This is an item that you cannot obtain in the game through any other normal gameplay or regular means. The only way that you can get that camping kit is by spending real money on it. That is the only way to get it and to open it up in the vendor to be able to keep purchasing it in the game and to help you. And because exploring and using those camping sites are so important to be able to heal up, that's directly affecting gameplay. That I wish there was a way to get in the game, and it's the one that I have the most frustrations with. Even if it was like some sort of complex, convoluted quest line that was really hard, but at the end of it, we got that camping kit, then I would be fine with it. Then I would be fine if there was a separate purchasable option, because at the very least, there's an easy option for people that want to buy it separately and not go through the quest line. They can do that. But for people like me that don't want to spend the money, I do the quest line, I go through all the hard yards, but then I have the Explorer's Camping Kit to show for it. I think that would have been better. Just have the hard option and then the easy option to make a little bit more money, but they don't even have that. All it is just you have to buy it, and that's when I feel obligated to spend my money. That's absolutely the one that I have the most issue with. So that's my range of opinions on all of these items. I don't have a clear-cut view on just this is bad or this is good. I understand if you do, though. I understand if you think this is a single-player game. These shouldn't even be in the game in the first place. I understand if you also have an issue with some but not others, but let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.